Will the House come to order, Mr. Clerk?
Aloha and good afternoon. Today's invocation will be delivered by Representative Amy A. Peruso. Will the members who wish to participate please rise?
Please be seated. Mahalo. I'd like to share a small story that I've come back to several times this session. Many of you know that our youngest daughters, now both teenagers, have been accompanying me on this journey. They've both been very supportive of my decision to run for office and to serve our community for the past 4 years. They've suffered through sign waving, banner posting, campaign team meetings and fundraisers, long work hours, and far less quality family time, with really no complaints. So I was surprised when our 16-year-old, Olivia, started giving me grief about a few months ago, actually, about my declining an offer to go driving with her because I had so many meetings. We were getting ready for session. This was in November. She's normally very even-tempered and compassionate, kind, very mature. So when she gets upset, I pay attention. She asked me why I bothered, because nothing that we cared about was changing and none of my bills had passed. I laughed, more out of surprise than anything else, because number one, how did she know? She doesn't follow politics. And number two, really, I'm getting a constituent evaluation from my child. But she was upset. So I quickly got serious about her question. Why bother? I told her that I think that every one of us, each of us in this body, brings some unique energy, skill, contribution, or set of insights to this work. And we need all of us to make this work for future generations. We are like Harold with the purple crayon, if you know the children's story. We get to write our own ending. We write the laws that shape the future. So we write the future into existence. We also model the political possible and can signal new configurations of and energy within our public sphere. And I told her that we all serve at the pleasure of the people. And until the people decide otherwise, we are obligated to do our utmost to serve the common good. That's all we can do, is to do our best, to be as honest, as good, as authentic, and as vulnerable in this work as possible, so that real change can happen and that people can feel that change in their bodies and their hearts. Thank you for being here to do this work together.
Thank you, Representative Peruso. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Aquino, Ms. Bellotti, Mr. Bronco, Ms. Clark, Ms. Costales, Ms. Eli, Mr. Ganaden, Mr. Gates, Ms. Har, Mr. Hashem, Mr. Hashimoto, Mr. Holt, Ms. Ichiyama, Mr. Iligan, Mr. Johansson, Ms. Capella, Ms. Kitagawa, Mr. Bertrand Kobayashi, Mr. Dale Kobayashi, Mr. Kong, Mr. Lopresti, Ms. Lowen,
Excused.
Ms. Luke, Ms. Martin, Mr. Matayoshi, Ms. Matsumoto, Mr. McDermott, Mr. McKelvey, Mr. Mizuno, Ms. Morikawa, Ms. Nakamura, Mr. Nakashima, Mr. Nishimoto, Mr. Ono, Ms. Okimoto, Mr. Onishi, Ms. Peruso, Mr. Quinlan, Mr. Sayama, Mr. Takayama, Mr. Takumi, Mr. Tam, Mr. Tarnas, Mr. Todd, Mr. Tokioka, Mr. Ward, Ms. Wildberger, Mr. Woodson, Mr. Yamane? Mr. Yamashita? Mr. Speaker.
Present.
Mr. Speaker, 50 members are present, 1 is excused.
Item 2, reading of the Journal, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, may this matter be deferred.
So ordered. Item 3, Mr. Clerk, are there any messages from the Governor?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of message number 1101 informing the House that House Bill 2500, House Draft 1, was signed into law on March 24, 2022, and designated as Act 1. May this matter be received and filed.
So ordered. Item 4, Mr. Clerk, are there any Senate communications?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we are in receipt of communications transmitting the noted Senate concurrent resolutions, all having been adopted in the Senate. We are in further receipt of a communication returning the noted House bill having passed third reading in the Senate.
Okay, for the disagree motion, Representative Bellotti.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move to disagree to the amendments made by the Senate to the noted House bill.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? If not, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. Members, are there any introductions? Representative Tokioka.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Today in the gallery, we have some good friends from the ILWU, Hawaii Longshore Division, and the representatives from the Longshore. And these guys are all the new guys who are recently elected with ILWU. And I want to introduce their names. When I call your names, can you please stand and remain standing till I get everybody? The legislative liaison is Brandon Wolf. Team members, Dave Chu. Champion, Nico Vitale. Lawrence DiCosta. Colin Masanas. Kali Ornelas, and John White. Members, will you help me welcome these ILW longshoremen to your state capitol? And Mr. Speaker, may I ask that their names be inserted into the journal?
So ordered.
Thank you.
Are there further introductions? Representative Pruso.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to introduce a few of my dearest friends. So my staff members, and I'm going to start with TJ Charisma, who's my community liaison. If you can stand, please. Isis Osborne, who is our committee clerk, and Tina Grandinetti, who's my office manager and everything. And then also my husband, John Mackey, is in the gallery for the first time in a very long time. So thank you for coming and welcome to your House of Representatives.
Representative Matsumoto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wanted to take the opportunity to also introduce one of my staff members, Brianna Bogg, if you can stand up. I also wanted to congratulate her. She just gave birth to her son, Blaze Bogg, on March 18th. He's 5 pounds, 6 ounces, and she's back at work a week later. She's Superwoman. There's no way I could have done that. So I wanted to wish her congratulations, and this is her first time in the House of Representatives.
Members, are there further introductions? If not, we're at item 5. Reports to standing committees. Representative Bellotti.
Mr. Speaker, I move to adopt Standing Committee Report numbers 1459 through 1472 as listed on pages 2 through 5, and that the accompanying House resolutions and House concurrent resolutions be referred to their designated committees.
Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
All right, members, is there any discussion beginning on page 2, SCR 1459 and 1460? 1461 and 1462. Next page, 1463, 1464, 1465 and 1466. Next page, 1467 and 1468, 1469 and 1470, 1471 and 1472. Representative McDermott.
Thank you, Speaker. I saw in the paper this morning, I stand in strong support, obviously.
Please proceed.
And my comments can be related to both of these following two resolutions. I saw in the paper today that $5 million was appropriated to the UH School, I guess, of Engineering to continue work on fuel tank safety. What we do know is that prior to this, they were trying to develop a tank within a tank solution which was take us up to about 2035 or something like that. This brings me back to pause that all these breadcrumbs are around telling us these things aren't getting shut down anytime soon. There's no target date to close them down. That's why this thing is so important, to let them know of our intentions. There's no target date to close. There's not even an estimated target date. At least Kennedy said we're going to go to the moon by the end of the decade. But we don't have that. What we have is defueling. We finally got the money for defueling, which this addresses. But defueling is not a decommissioning. They're two distinctly different things. And I would encourage my colleagues to read the defueling order from the State Department of Health, which I have on several occasions. So there's no start date, there's no finish date. That's why this resolution is important. And there's no money, Mr. Speaker, to shut it down. There's not even $1 in this big federal budget that was just passed, $1. There's not even $1 to plan on shutting them down. All we have is a statement from the Secretary of Defense on a memo. That's not a legal document. In order for this to close, we need the Congress to articulate in legislation, just like they do with the BRAC, that this facility will be closed by X amount of days, 2022 or 2023, and they work their way backwards to meet that target. That's the way they always do. When they invaded Normandy, June 6, 1944, they didn't say, well, we'll figure it out at some point. They set a date and they worked their way back to accomplish that mission. And I believe they can accomplish the mission. What I don't believe is that it's going to close, and certainly not anytime soon. So that's why these resolutions are so important and the work of the body is so important. Thank you, sir.
Okay, is there further discussion on this or any other resolution? If not, we'll take a voice vote. All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. Item 6, members, are there any announcements? Representative Ward.
Speaker, I have a brief update on my last week announcement that the gas price moratorium is sweeping the nation. It's even now further, and California leads the pack with $5.91 per gallon. And Hawaii needs to look at this as possibly an example, because we are, for those of us who have old cars, paying super at almost $5.91, $6. But it's a consideration to give people a break, particularly those without the wherewithal to withstand what is happening with the inflation in the nation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And lastly, Slavo Ukraine. As long as Putin keeps bombing, the price of gas is going to continue to rise and rise and rise. Thank you.
All right, Representative Ward, the chair will take under advisement whether that was an announcement. Members, are there other announcements? If not, for the motion to adjourn, Representative Morikawa.
Mr. Speaker, I move that this House stand adjourned until 12 o'clock noon tomorrow.
Representative Matsumoto.
Mr. Speaker, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye. All opposed say no. The motion is carried. The House stands adjourned until 12 noon tomorrow.